All right, 2014 redraft now. This is a fun one. There's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about in this draft. If you haven't seen one of my redrafts, the way I do it is I basically just pretend as though the redraft is today. So if you get, let's say you draft Aaron Donald, you're not getting Aaron Donald for the first several years of his career. You're getting Aaron Donald today. He's no longer a Ram. He's on your team. Also, I went back and got rid of all the trades, so every team gets their original selection. I just think these are fun. They're not too much insight, just kind of a fun thing to do during the offseason. And so, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Number one, the Houston Texans. They get Aaron Donald here. They had Clowney, who definitely, it made sense to draft him at the time. But I think Aaron Donald, he's debatably the best player in football. Most people would say Mahomes, but if not Mahomes, he's probably what people would say is the best player in football. He's such a dominant defensive tackle. So for them to get Donald, which is also a position of need, it's just a tremendous fit for them. With the number 2 overall pick, this was originally the pick that the Rams used to get Greg Robinson. Here, the Washington football team is going to get Derek Carr. Now, I know a lot of people might think this is a bit of a high draft pick, but I just think that even with some of these other guys on the board, getting a franchise quarterback just has way more value, and I think the Redskins could use one. Even though I haven't given up on Haskins, I think getting a sure thing here is worth it in my opinion. With the number 3 pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they got Bortles. They will not be making that mistake again. They are going to get Khalil Mack, who, dominant player for Oakland, of course. Oakland had a great draft. They had, Oakland, they had Khalil Mack and they had Derek Carr. Obviously, Mack now plays for Chicago, but now with the redraft, he plays for Jacksonville. They don't need an edge rusher, but now they can let Ngakoue walk, and they have Mack with Allen, which is just unfair. With the number 4 pick, I think Cleveland could use a guard, but I also think Zach Martin is just best player available. He's such a dominant force, so to get him on your roster, I think they've already upgraded their tackles this past offseason. Now they're going to go out and they're going to get one of the best guards in the league. This is quickly turning a bad offensive line into one of the best in the NFL. With the number 5 overall pick, the Raiders have already lost 2 of their best players that they drafted in this draft, although one of them they traded away already, but they're going to get Mike Evans here. I think they could use a wide receiver. I also think that, they could have gone quarterback here with the loss of Carr, but I like Mike Evans. I think they could really, this could turn their receiving core into one of the best in the NFL. With the number 6 overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons are going to get Shaq Barrett right here. Shaq Barrett had a tremendous year with with Tampa Bay, who is Atlanta's division rival. So back-to-back Tampa Bay players going off the board here, although Shaq Barrett was undrafted with Denver, but now gets drafted 6th in the redraft. So Tampa Bay has now lost 2 very valuable players. They got Mike Evans with this number 7 pick, but, I think they can probably live without Evans to some degree, at least a lot easier than without Barrett. So they're going to get Barrett's replacement with DeMarcus Lawrence, who's a really good player for Dallas. I almost had him going 6th, but I think Barrett he's had the higher ceiling. Lawrence has yet to have a season like Barrett did, but he's still tremendous. With the number 8 pick right here, Minnesota is going to get Taylor Lewan. Taylor Lewan, really good tackle. I don't think they desperately need a tackle, but I think they could use one. And I think Lewan is just tremendously good, so I think this works out. They got Anthony Barr, so they're not regretting this pick, what they actually got, but I do think this is a bit of an upgrade. And speaking of upgrades, the number 9 pick, Buffalo is going to select Jimmy Garoppolo. Listen, I know a lot of Bills fans like Josh Allen. I am not a Josh Allen hater. I think he has some potential. I just think Garoppolo's a better player, and I think that getting a better player in this situation at the quarterback position adds way more value than getting anybody else in this draft. And I think that they're a pretty complete team, so why not go for a pretty marginal upgrade at the quarterback position? With the number 10 pick, the Lions are another team that they don't have really any positions that I'm like, that sucks. So I'm going to give them CJ Mosley. I think they could use a linebacker, and I think that he would be really good next to Tavai, although they did just get Jamie Collins. I don't know how well that's going to work out. I like getting Mosley here. I think he might be best player available as well. And I think it would be a good fit, so kind of checks off all boxes. With the number 11 pick, the Tennessee Titans, they're going to get Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney was the number 1 overall pick. He falls here to number 11. Again, Clowney's weird. I made a video about how I don't think he should be a pure edge guy. I think he should move to the inside. That's just my opinion. I think he would have more value there, so you can check out that video. But I still think he adds a good amount of value and would be very beneficial to Tennessee. With the number 12 pick, the New York Giants had selected Odell Beckham. They're now going to get Devontae Adams instead. Listen, this might be a bit of a controversial pick. I think I'm a bit lower on Odell than most, largely due to injury issues, but I really do. I think Adams is the better player. Number 13, now the Los Angeles Rams are going to get Anthony Barr. I think this is a position of need, and I also think Barr is one of the better players on the board. Again, he went 9th overall before in the real draft. I think the Vikings kind of nailed it. They got a slight upgrade with their pick, but I still think that he's really good, so he goes at 13 here. With the number 14 pick, the Chicago Bears are going to get Jake Matthews. I think they can improve that offensive line. Matthews got selected number 6th overall by Atlanta in the real draft, but now he falls a little bit, but not too much. They had Kyle Fuller, who is good. That's who they got with this pick, but I think they can get an upgrade on the offensive line, which I think is more important. With the number 15 pick, this is where Odell is going to get selected. I don't think the Steelers definitely need a receiver, but again, they're another one of those teams that I do feel like is pretty good. They're pretty loaded all around. I think they're a pretty complete team, and getting a true number 1 guy, which they maybe have, but they maybe don't. Getting that guarantee 1 guy, again, injuries are a problem, but I still think he's really good and a good fit. With the number 16 pick, the Dallas Cowboys, this one might be considered a bit of a reach, but I think this will just help them to improve their defensive line. Stephon Tuitt, I think he is a very good player for Pittsburgh. He can work on that interior defensive line, and while they do have some guys, they've made some efforts to improve that. Someone like McCoy, I don't know how many years you're going to get out of him, so getting a younger guy helps here. With the number 17 pick, Baltimore is going to get Jarvis Landry. I actually think Allen Robinson might be the better player in a vacuum. I actually think he is. I am not selecting him, though. I'm getting Landry because I just think Landry would fit that Baltimore system so well. He's a good possession receiver, which I think they could use. So I like this pick from Baltimore's perspective. With the number 18 pick, New York is saying, hey, we'll take A-Rob then. They get Allen Robinson here. I think Robinson, he's so difficult to judge because he's been in so many bad systems. He's one of the most difficult receivers to truly evaluate, but I think he's really tremendous, a true number 1 guy. This is obviously a great wide receiver draft, and I think he would improve the Jets roster a ton. With the number 19 pick, Miami is going to select Trey Turner here. Turner, 5-time Pro Bowler. I think some Panthers fans, they just traded him away, and they're kind of saying he's not really, a bit overrated. The 5 Pro Bowlers seems a bit much, and I do kind of agree to some degree. I think name recognition is a part of that, but I still think he has a ton of value, and they need to improve their line, so this works out. Number 20, I'm going with a fun pick here. I'm getting Kyle Van Noy for Arizona, mostly because I just think he's so versatile, and they already have Isaiah Simmons, who is so versatile, and so getting 2 of those linebacker guys who can kind of do it all, but in 2 different ways adds a ton of versatility, and given the right defensive coordinator and defensive coaching staff, could make it a chaos to go up against. So I just think it'd be fun. Is it smart? Probably not, but that's what I would do because chaos is fun. With the number 21 pick, Green Bay, listen, I've been having them draft receivers throughout these redrafts because I think they could use a second one. Now they lose their first one with Adams getting selected earlier. So this is an obvious one. They picked Clinton Dix here, but I think getting Brandon Cooks, a guy who is a wide receiver 1, I think it's a no-brainer here. With the number 22 pick, this was actually the pick that Johnny Manziel got selected, but now it stays with the Eagles, who are going to get Bradley Roby. Roby's kind of had an up and down career, but I think he's a very good number 2 guy, even has number 1 corner potential. I think they could use a defensive back, and I think that Roby is a really good defensive back to add to that roster. With the number 23 pick, hey, how about that? Dee Ford going to the Chiefs. He was selected with this pick in the real draft, still selected in the redraft. I just think he's probably best player available at this point. We know he can play with that defense, and I think this will add some value. And they don't need a ton also. They just won a Super Bowl, but this would help. The Cincinnati Bengals selected Darqueze Dennard, who's a solid corner for them for a while, not with them anymore. I'm going to get him a guard here with Joel Bonito. I think that he's played pretty well with Cleveland. I think that he can be successful with Cincinnati. And again, they just need offensive line help. So I think this just kind of works out for them. With the number 25 pick, the Chargers are going to get Todd Davis. Todd Davis, a guy, he's a really valuable linebacker. He's not a superstar, but a good player. And I think that they could use a linebacker. So again, picking for need here, not necessarily for potential, but at the same time, we kind of know who all these guys are. They've played in the league for a while, so getting a need, I think, works here. With the number 26 pick, Indianapolis, they're going to decide to get Teddy Bridgewater with this pick. Again, they have Rivers, but I think Bridgewater is a bit of an upgrade. So getting Bridgewater, and he's obviously younger, so I like this pick. And again, it's such an important position. I think you do have to get an upgrade at quarterback if you can. With the number 27 pick, New Orleans, they're going to get their wide receiver 2 right here, or wide receiver 3, depending on who wins the 2 job with Sanders and Watkins. They're getting Sammy Watkins. Again, crazy to think that he was the most hyped up wide receiver in this draft class, of who ends up going ahead of him in the redraft, but still a solid contributor on offense. With number 28, Carolina, they selected Kelvin Benjamin. They will not be doing that this time. They were going to go with Kyle Fuller. I think really good starting corner. Didn't have his best year last year, but has been very good. How good would he be outside of the Chicago defense? That's tough to say, really, but I do think that getting Fuller, I think it would help them. With the number 29 pick, New England is going to get Eric Ebron here. I think they could use a tight end. I think he's a good receiving tight end. I think he has a lot of talent. So, again, kind of a position of need. The Patriots are so hard to try to figure out what they are doing. They're just such a weird team, but it works. So, I'm pretty sure they would lose every redraft, even if they got more talented players. With the number 30 pick, San Francisco is going to get Cameron Brate. Now, obviously, they do not need a tight end. They have one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL right now. They don't really need a backup tight end, but I just think that Cameron Brate, he's proven he can be a good red zone guy, a good receiving tight end, and I think that they could use him well with 2 tight end sets. So I think this is the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, it's not a position of need. They don't have a position of need, so let's get a position of want. Obviously, they have no quarterback now with Garoppolo, but maybe Nick Mullins can figure something out, and there's not really another good quarterback on the board. With the number 31 pick, Denver selected Bradley Roby here, and they didn't regret it, as he was a pretty big part of their Super Bowl winning defense as the third corner. But now they're going to get Jawan James, who is actually their current starting tackle. So this is someone who I think is still going to be a benefit to them. I think they really could use a tackle. They have DeMar Dotson, but he's on his last legs. So I think this pick makes sense for Denver. And with the number 32 pick, let's go with Trey Burton for Seattle. I think Trey Burton works here. Again, it's not necessarily something I'm like, this is definitely what they need, but I think they could use a good receiving tight end. I think Burton would help them with that. While I do tend to like to pick positions of need, I just don't feel too confident in anybody else on the board right here. So again, like I said, it's a bit of a top-heavy draft, so that's kind of why I'm going to go with Burton here. But I do think he would help Seattle out. So some honorable mentions: Malcolm Butler, John Brown, Jason Verrett. You have Charles Leno Jr., Darqueze Dennard, Clinton Dix, Adrian Phillips, and also a little shout out to Ryan Shazier. Obviously, he had a great career cut short due to a terrible injury. But yeah, I just think that that's what I would do. Again, interesting draft, often talked about as one of the best wide receiver drafts, but there's also a couple of really high-end pass rushers, with Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, Shaq Barrett, and even DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, when DeMarcus Lawrence is the 4th pass rusher going, Clowney is the 5th, quite the pass rushing draft for sure. And there were actually 3 pretty good quarterbacks, although the earliest any of them were actually taken was Bridgewater with the 32nd pick, and then Carr was taken a few picks later, and Garoppolo was taken a couple rounds later. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Very interesting draft. What do you guys think? Tell me why I am stupid. I always love hearing what you would have done differently. Again, these things are mostly about fun, so have some fun with it. Let me know your list, or just what I did wrong. You don't have to do a whole list. Lists take time. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.